When people think of Cuba, they call to mind the crumbling grandeur of old Havana with its vintage cars, flashy nightlife, and proud people. They also picture the toasty beaches of Varadero and probably recall fond memories of some of the friendliest folks on the planet. These days, it's becoming more common for travelers to enjoy traditional food when they visit Cuba. If you get the chance, you'll find a cuisine as inviting as the people who call this island home.
Cuba has avocados and mangoes everywhere. Most people have them in their backyards. And coconuts.
And coconuts
and coconuts
too?
too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sylvia Llewellyn and Jesus Baute own a Cuban restaurant, and Jesus told us that food in his native Cuba is as multicultural as the Cubans themselves. Cuba is the largest of all the Caribbean islands, and it was originally inhabited by native tribes. It was then settled by the Spaniards, and African and Chinese laborers trickled in over the centuries. All of them have left their mark. You might like to try some of the most traditional Cuban dishes: ropa vieja, yuca, plantain, and the mainstay of most Latin American cuisine, rice and beans. With tourism up and US dollars trickling in, quality food is easier to find for Cubans and visitors. Still, for real traditional food, you'll need to go off the beaten path and track down privately run restaurants called paladares.
Most of the resorts on the island, they are pretty traditional resort food, not necessarily traditionally Cuban food. To find Cuban food, I think you do need to know a friend or a waiter who will take you to a house, and even if they have just a little bit, they're so willing to share.
There are a few customs you might keep in mind when visiting a Cuban home or a paladar.
The Cubans tend to eat everything together. Like, we tend to have little compartments of foods. They tend to have everything on the table at the same time. And so you'd have a little piece of yuca and you'd have a little piece of puerco, and you eat it all together.
After a wonderful meal, you really should enjoy one more treat, the famous Cuban cocktail, the mojito.
Well, mojito is fresh lime juice, lots of sugar, mint leaves that you pound, ice, rum, and soda.
This heady rum drink was invented by Ernest Hemingway, who loved Cuba enough to spend 20 years there. You may find yourself equally enchanted after a wonderful meal of traditional Cuban food. For more information, visit our website on topoftheworld.net.